Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time to discuss whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. We are here because God is concerned about that which concerns you. So whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind, we will address right here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And right now, if you order 2 cases or more from FijiWater.com, you will receive a 25% discount. The code is SPRING because spring has sprung at FijiWater.com. And I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at newlifeministriesinternational.com and newlifeinternationalcdc.com. We thank you for your support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, to address whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. So I want to remind everyone, we are Facebook Live, we are YouTube Live, and we are RadioFreeNetwork.com Live. You go to RadioFreeNetwork.com, click on radio, the Dropbox will appear. Click on New Life, and every broadcast is available to you. So that's where you find the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. You can also find the Sunday sermon on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, on RadioFreeNetwork.com Live. You go to RadioFreeNetwork.com click on radio, the Dropbox will appear, click on New Life, and the New Life link will go live with the Sunday sermon. So that's every Sunday, if you're not in our area, at 10:45 a.m. Now, we are now live with our 24-hour internet radio station where we play music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Music that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly become. And that you can find on RadioFreeNetwork.com /WKAP-faith. And you will click on the arrow that takes you live to Faith Empowerment Radio. That is our new 24-hour internet radio station. So we want you to be tuned in with us. We want you to have a good time with all that we're doing. You will be encouraged, empowered, and inspired every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You will hear us doing interviews with gospel and inspirational recording artists, and you will hear students from our Achievers Academy interviewing celebrated individuals in a segment that is called Achievers. We will get to that eventually, but we have gone live. We are excited about WKAP-faith, our 24-hour internet radio station. And the only place you can find that, well, there's 2 places you can find that. You can either go to rdo.to/WKAP, or you can go to RadioFreeNetwork.com /WKAP-faith. And I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that the pandemic has destroyed a friendship between you and yourself and a childhood friend. You said your differences of views made you both pick a side and has not allowed you to overcome your differences. So let me really walk you through this. There is no reason you miss your friendship. I get it. There's no reason for the two of you not to be able to, two mature adults, not to be able to overcome your differences. You went over a lot in your communication, and I thank you for being very thorough. You talked about your beliefs regarding the COVID-19 virus. You talked about your beliefs concerning the public health crisis. You talked about a lot of things that make sense. As far as your friend is concerned, they make sense to you. They're not as concerned about it, and they have a difference of opinion about the virus itself. Here's what you need to understand. The pandemic did not destroy your friendship. The failure to be able to accept one another's viewpoint. Listen, notice I said accept one another's viewpoint. Just because you have one viewpoint based on a lot of facts and the facts of the science. We were in a pandemic. We were in a public health crisis. We know that. But everyone hasn't accepted that. Now, your information is based on facts. Their information may be based on theory, but the reality is you're both entitled to your opinion. Your concern is that your friend didn't care enough about other people with regard to the public health crisis. Well, there's a lot of people who they're only concerned about themselves. They're not concerned about anyone else. So you have to accept that. Listen, you're struggling with the fact that you can't respect their opinion, and you don't have to necessarily, see, this is where I think we go off the rails. Sometimes you don't even have to respect someone's opinion to accept their opinion. And the way that you accept it is they're entitled to whatever their opinion is. It's just an opinion, particularly if you're basing your decision on facts. So the problem wasn't the pandemic. The problem was the inability for both of you to accept one another's perspective and your point of view. So, and I'm going to go a little further, because as I was prayerful about this, God allowed me to see in that secret place of your life. It's not even your friend that is really the problem. What's happened is, because she's married to someone who has strong opinions about the pandemic, he then has convinced her that his opinion is correct, and she's therefore carrying forth his opinion. But that's her spouse. She has a right to that opinion, but it doesn't make it fact. You're basing your opinion on facts, and that doesn't mean she has to accept the facts. Everybody doesn't even accept what facts are. There's a lot of misinformation in our society today. But at the end of the day, reading, researching will allow us to view facts that are readily available, and we can make our decisions based on that. Not our opinions, but our decisions based on that. But there are a whole lot of people that you've known over the years who don't base anything on facts. They base everything on their opinion. Most self-consumed people will base everything on their emotions and on their opinion. They're not going to base things on facts. But your inability to accept that has caused a rift between the two of you. Her inability to accept the fact that you shared with her exactly what was being disseminated from scientists. She didn't want to accept that. So the two of you then began to have a conflict among yourselves about something that neither of you have any control over. All you can do is control your own environment. And let me tell you what that looks like. So when the pandemic first occurred, I'm going to use this practical example. When the pandemic first occurred, the very first day that it was announced, the one thing that my wife did was placed a handwritten verse scripture on our doors. Psalm 91. That's the only control, that in prayer, that we have over our environment. Because, in other words, nothing will come near our dwelling that is not of God. That's the first thing. The second thing is, we even in our church, we mask. We took the necessary steps to be certain that we could be safe and well, and that's it. Do we go into detailed discussions with people? If someone asks, we will share with them the information that we have garnered from the CDC, the scientists, and that's it. We stop right there. That doesn't stop us from hearing what other people have to say. They're entitled to their opinions. But we don't have any control over this public health crisis. So the only thing we could do is control our environment. And that means we didn't do a lot of things that we would normally do. We didn't move around. We didn't take trips. We didn't get on airplanes because of the close environment. We didn't do any of those things. Now that doesn't mean that if someone has to travel for business or for work, that you can't mask up and be vaccinated and do what needs to be done to keep yourself and others safe. And you talked about that in your communication. I got it. But you've got to know that you or your friend had any control over this. All you can do is control your own environment. So neither of you said in your communication that the pandemic required you both to pick a side. It didn't require you to do that. Listen, it didn't require you to publicly take a stance. It only required you personally to take a stance. How are you going to protect yourself, your family, your loved ones, and how are you going to protect humanity? That's all it requires of you. It didn't require you both to take a side and go to battle over the side that you've chosen. And that's where, when you said it has not allowed you to overcome your differences, you have the opportunity because you're both still living. You have the opportunity because all you have to do is pick up the phone and say, I miss our friendship, and you're entitled to your opinion, I have my opinion, and we're going to live this life out together. You have the opportunity to do that. You've both chosen not to. And that's just your inability to accept someone else's opinion or point of view. If you accept that they have an opinion and they have a right to an opinion, you'll be able to overcome this. Because you have a right to your opinion, and you have a right to share your opinion if it's requested. But other than that, this is not a debate that anybody needs to have, because nobody's going to solve the problem of the pandemic until there are measures in place to ensure that we all stay safe and well. And thank God we're here today. We've survived. We've survived the public health crisis, and we pray for the souls of those who did not. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you are really tired of dating, so you want to be in a relationship. However, all the guys you date do not want a relationship. So let me say this. Okay. I know that I've talked to people about this on the broadcast many, many times. First of all, you're dating the wrong man. Before you waste any time, you should have a conversation with them. And let me tell you what the conversation should look like. So I've shared this with our listeners and viewers in the past in many ways. At the end of the day, we do not, and let me repeat that, do not need to be dating for entertainment. We shouldn't be dating for a free meal, and we shouldn't be dating for sport. You should only date on a mission. You should only date to determine if this is the person that God has appointed for your life. That's the purpose for dating. See, society taught us all the wrong way. We all did it the wrong way. But God has revealed that this is the way to get to where the place that God has appointed for all of our lives. So we know that the Bible says it's not good for man to live alone. So we know God brought man together when he created the heavens and the earth and created man. So we know that there's someone appointed for all of our lives. Now that we know that, we should only be, as men, searching for that person, the woman that God has appointed for our lives, the Proverbs 31 woman. And for women, women should be making themselves prepared to be a wife. Now, I'm sure I'll probably get some emails about this, but I love hearing from all of our listeners and viewers, so it's okay. You can reach out to me, newlifepastor@comcast.net, okay? Or you can call on the T-Mobile call or text line. Call or text. But here's the point. The point is, you should only be dating to determine who the person is that God has appointed for your life. Now watch this. I have said this many, many times. I'm going to say this many, many more times over the years. When someone asks you out on a date, if someone asks, let me go one step further than that. If someone asks you for your telephone number, before you give them your telephone number, you should have a conversation with them. And that is, are we equally yoked? That's the conversation you need to have in your mind, first and foremost. And then you need to start this process. You say you want to take me out. This is the conversation you should have. You say you want to take me out to dinner. But how about this? How about if you take me to your church? I go to church with you on a Sunday morning. And after church, we go out to lunch. You take me out to lunch. Because you're not, as the woman, you're not responsible for paying to go out to lunch. How about we go to your church first, and then we go out to lunch? If he if he's sent by anyone other than God, meaning the enemy, he's going to flee. That's the first thing. Because now you've resisted him with, let's go to church and out to lunch. If he doesn't flee, but he says to you, I don't have a church, but I'd still like to take you out, then you say to him, how about if you come to my church with me and then we go out to lunch? And if he says okay to that, then you tell him, I'd like to do that 3 times so that I can get to know you before you ever take me out to dinner. And you can make a joke and say, look, it'll save you some money taking me out to lunch. Humor is always good. But tell them you want to go to church and out to lunch 3 times. See, the problem is we want to be wined and dined. We want to be, we want to go to Four Seasons, Steak 48, Live in our area. Those are some of the, Butcher and Singer. Those are some of the nicer establishments. But wherever you are, you want to go. If you're in Miami, you want to go out to the place where they put the steak in its own case and it's $1,000 a steak. People want to be wined and dined, but that's not going to get you to the place that God has appointed for your life. If you go to church 3 times, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a pastor, I'm saying this because God revealed this to me, and out to lunch. By the end of the 3rd lunch, you're going to know if this is someone you even want to consider having in your life. And watch this. When you go out to lunch, the conversation shouldn't be about the things you enjoy doing too early. Shouldn't be about travel. It should be about what is his 7-year plan for his life and your 7-year plan for your life. Can we even walk together in agreement? Do we have similar plans for our lives? You can get to the travel and the sporting events and the restaurants and all of those things, the things if you like to skydive, if you like to rock climb, whatever you like to do, you can get to all of those things after you understand, can we walk together in agreement? Can we even walk together in step? Can we walk together in agreement? Do we have a 7-year plan, each of us, for our lives that possibly we might be able to merge together? Watch this. Do you have any interest in someday getting married? Do you have any desire to have children? If you already have been married and have children, what are your policies and procedures, I'll use that term, for raising your children? Are you raising your children to be good citizens? Are you raising them to be good citizens with a sense of entitlement? Are you raising them, or are you even raising them? Those are conversations that you should have over lunch. Or are you letting the television raise them? Those are conversations that you should have long before you decide that you want to go out to a intimate dinner together. That comes later. The reality, so look, 30 days, 31 days in a month, 4 weeks, 4 Sundays. By the 4th Sunday, after you've gone to church 3 times and out to lunch, that 4th Sunday, you'll know if this is even something that you should take an interest in pursuing. By the end of the month. So a whole month goes by. And then if you decide that you're going to pursue a relationship, then you go through all 4 seasons. Before you ever make any major commitments, you got to go through 4 seasons and get to know the person and decide, is this someone that I can spend the rest of my life with. Because if you can't, it's time to move on. See, we trap ourselves in relationships by the way we date. You know, because here's what happens. Now, let me keep it real, okay? A guy asks a woman out. She wants to go someplace that's really nice. He's going to spend money because he's taking you out. And then, before you know it, you're going to get intimate. And once you become intimate, then the head and the heart become involved. And then we don't know how to get out, so we continue. And before you know it, you're trapped in a situation that really God never had intended for you in the first place. That's just the way it is. Or for those who date for sport, they go out, they have a good time, they get intimate, and then whatever, you may or may not spend any more time together. We've been doing things the wrong way because society has been teaching us to do them. We haven't been learning from the Word of God the way to conduct our lives, the best way to conduct our lives, the way that's going to lead to the great quality of life that we so desire. So we just got to do a better job with this. So just know you've been dating the wrong man and you're not having the conversations. You've got to change all of that. And one day I'm going to get really further into this whole revelation that God gave me, because relationships are significantly important in all of our lives. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. If you're in any of those areas, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need: shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. If you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. And The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at the retail store. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have been in a relationship for a long time. However, your significant other has not taken the steps necessary to get married. So let me just say this to you, because I don't want to run out of time. You don't just have standards, you have requirements. And here's the problem. Having standards is one thing. Requiring someone to take certain steps in order to get married, unless you're talking about dealing with an addiction, which you are not, unless you're talking about some other issue of life that has to be overcome, which you're not, you got to understand that only in your mind has he not taken the necessary steps to get married. You just haven't prepared yourself to accept what it takes to be live in holy matrimony. You haven't identified what it takes to be a wife. You have set these standards that are unreasonable. Let me rephrase that. These requirements that are unreasonable. It's great to have standards. You can't require anyone to do certain things. I got to have a certain number of carats for a ring. I've got to have a wedding that's got to be laid out this way. I've got to have you making a level of income that is going to sustain the type of lifestyle I want. You can't have those kinds of requirements. What you can have is standards. That he's doing the best that he can in his career to maximize the success of your household. You can have standards that you do want a ring. It doesn't have to blind anyone. You can have standards, but you can't have requirements. Because if you're setting requirements, you're not ready to be married. Even though he's not ready to marry you, you're not ready to be married. You've got to work on you. He has to work on him. And together you two can make this work if you're willing to eliminate the requirements, and just the two of you set some standards together. Today's 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast,